and specs, they would come out during construction and make sure we're doing everything right. In those regulations, we have to leave the ground at least as good as it was, if not better. We have to pay for any property or crop damage. We have to restore it as good or better, whether it's a fence, whether it's the ditch, whether it's the roadway. Everything has to be at least as good as it was or better. And that's federal regulations that we're following. So it's not the township, it's not the state, it's the federal government. And we don't want any trouble with the federal government. So there's, this is all online. I've given you the citations on the bottom of the next page on the rules. They're quite lengthy. I'm sorry, where did I get it? Page 3, right at the top. I'm sorry, I'm in at the top. So under the pipeline regulations, you can look all these up online. We have to follow every single one of those, and we're going to be inspected on it as we construct it, and then once each year.
Do you have an additional handout?
Yeah. Do you have another handout?
I don't have any more.
We'll give her one of ours.
So I'm now at the bottom. I'm still. Let me go back to the bottom of page 2. So what we've done so far as well is we've actually sent a letter to each property owner that could be impacted, and we got hopefully those. That's the property owner as of record in the county for property taxes. That may not be the person occupying the dwelling, but that's who we had, and that's who we sent the letter to. And then, of course, we put the formal notice in the paper that I think you've all seen. Then at the top of page 3, you list the regulations. We have a whole set of things we have to do as both the installer and the operator. But the big thing we have going for us is we've hired Michael's Pipeline Construction. Michael's and Mead are the two big pipeline installers in Wisconsin. They're probably 50-50, they probably each have about 50% of the market. Around here, Michael's has done most of the work. The We Energies pipe, we're not affiliated with We Energies, but the We Energies pipelines that have gone in this area, Michael's has done them all. They have all the drawings, they have all the 3D, how deep it is and exactly where it is, which is helpful because our path is to leave the Newchester Dairy in Adams County on County E, head from Adams County into Marquette County on E, go south on County A as an apple to Evergreen, go east on Evergreen, take a left, go east on Evergreen to County J, go south on J about a mile to Fawn, and then left and go east on Fawn about a mile to the back door of Brakebush. So Michael's certainly would be doing all the work. The first thing they would do, once we have the approvals in place and the easements, they would survey and stake it out so you'd know exactly where it is. At that point, we provide the final signed drawings for the town of Westfield, the town of Oxford, the two county road commissioners for final approval, and then we begin construction. And in construction, we give notices to all the property owners on approximately when we'd be by their house. Weather sometimes affects this. It might be plus or minus a couple days. And I know from just hearing from some of the groups, we have no affiliation with the Marquette Adams telephone people that put in the fiber optic. So that's not us. We had nothing to do with that. We plan to do it better than that. If you have any particular things that may not be marked on the utility drawings, which we'll have access to, where you have a private water line or a field tile or your own little private electric or telephone line, we would want to know that so that we can drill under it or over it, depending on where it is. We don't want to cause any impact any negative impact that we can. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a hassle coming by. Half the road will kind of sort of be closed with construction, and we'll have we'll deal with the county on the proper way to do that. There will be a tracer wire buried in with a cable, so we'll always be able to find exactly where it is. And we have to put posts in the ground by federal law. Anytime we make a bend, we have to have a post. And then every 1,500 feet, we have to have a post in the ground that says a biogas pipeline sits underneath this. As far as operations go, this pipeline isn't going to be the 300-pound pressure We Energies get natural gas pipeline. This will probably operate about 70 or 80 pounds per square inch. I mean, if it blows out of the ground, you can put your hand on it without hurting it, so it's relatively low pressure. The material we use, we cannot put more than 150 in it, but no good engineer will operate right at the maximum. So the maximum operating pressure we'll ever have over the life of this is probably 125, and we don't plan to be at 125 even at the inlet of the dairy. It'll probably be 80, 90, 100 pounds of pressure. So just to give you an example, the water pressure coming out of your faucet is about 30 psi. So I mean it'll be about twice that pressure. So just to give you an idea of the pressure of what's in there. We're required to have all the public safety agencies know where the pipe is, what's in the pipe as far as the biogas content, and give them a 24/7 emergency number to call. So and we have to put the odorant in it just like natural gas, so it'll smell like natural gas. And so if there's a leak and you call 911, the 911 people know how to call. So because this is a point-to-point pipe, this is much easier to manage than a natural gas pipe. So if there's a small pinhole leak, we have a flow meter coming in here, flow meter going out at the other end of the line, and they're going to talk to one another in real time. So if there's a tiny, tiny pinhole leak, that's probably the only thing that's really difficult for us to catch. If it's a bigger leak, the flow meter coming in says X, the flow meter coming out says Y, it's different, and an alarm will go off. If there's a pressure drop, meaning someone accidentally cuts a pipe and there's a sudden pressure drop, the two ends of the line see the pressure drop and the valves close. So because it's a point-to-point pipe, this is much safer and much different than your normal natural gas system. The content of the gas is not the same as natural gas. So methane is the hydrocarbon that's burned in natural gas. So natural gas is 97, 98% methane. We'll be more like 60 to 65% methane. Most of the rest of it's carbon dioxide. So in the fire department here, they have quite a few fire extinguishers. Almost all of those fire extinguishers are carbon dioxide because it snuffs out the oxygen so it doesn't burn. It is really tough to get biogas to burn. It will burn, but you've got to put a torch up to it or a shower of sparks on it. It's a little easier to burn in an engine because, like these big diesel engines, you compress the gas with air in a highly compressed environment, and you put a spark right into the cylinder. That's a different story. But in the open atmosphere, it's very difficult to get it lit. So usually, there's never been a biogas fire in the country that we know of. So usually what you do is you smell that gas smell. If there's any type of leak at all, the material we're using is plastic, so it shrinks and expands, unlike metal pipe that can corrode and crack over time. So that's why we're putting in the thick plastic, high density polyethylene pipe.
100-year life type pipe, utility grade.
So then finally, we went ahead, because it's public information, and you probably know a lot of these people, we put a list of the property owners, north and south side. We don't need both the north and south side. So depending on who's willing and who's not, we'll S the pipe back and forth, and we're trying to avoid homes, avoid driveways.